Hello, everybody. I am the CEO of iArcade, and you are watching the best show in the world, Retro Bus. Let's go.
Hey guys, it's Friday, so you know what time it is. It's time for the Retro Buzz, and we got a pretty exciting show for you today. But I'm kind of a little disappointed right now because, we all take our time, we get going with the show, and this guy decides to come in at the very last minute, shows up late, makes his entrance. He thinks because he has a contract that he can do whatever he wants.
Well, actually, I think I had, 1 minute and 34 seconds to spare, so I don't know what you're crying about.
Only a minute and 34. But I at least have this guy. He's always on time.
Old reliable.
Always ready to go.
Feeling older.
He's spending our money.
Older each day. Spending your money, yeah. Trying to get you, addicted to plastic like I am.
Oh,
I'm telling you, this week was very expensive for me, Doug. I think I went through like $400 getting stuff that is a cool toy kind of thing.
I was just going to say, Glenn has been buying toys. Like, that's unheard of.
Yeah, well, I own all the consoles, but they had the Black Hole special edition. So it just came actually. This just came the other day, so I got to put it in a bag. Maximilian.
So
But, I'm really torn. I'm torn because do I leave these in the pack? These are those bubble packages. Do I take it out of the package or leave it in the
We
package?
already answered that for you, Glenn. You take it out of the box so you can display it. You can move it around. It's got all sorts of articulation. You'll never get to experience the articulation if you leave it in the box.
So that's what I wanted to
It's in the box.
Glenn, I got something for you. I got something for you here, and I know how hard they are now to come by, but I got really special ones for you.
Look at that.
These are like jumbo size bags.
Well, today, I got to tell you, I'm going to need that because today, I made it with literally like 19 minutes to spare. Space 1999, it's called, I think 16 is the company, 166, makes these Space 99 models, and they have a Moonbase Alpha launch pad with the lights and an eagle and sound effects and a working dock. I'm like, I got to buy that, man. But it's, it's in pounds, so by the time you get it, it's $250. Doug! You're causing this problem now.
Well, see, normally I say, you're welcome. I'm trying to stimulate the American economy, but since it sounds like, you're going across the pond, so to speak, and you're supporting another country's economy. So I can't help you there. That's all on you.
Oh man, it's beautiful. I can't wait for that to arrive. It's supposed to be available in May. It was a pre-order, nonetheless. A pre-order.
Wow.
So how long do you got to wait until that shows up? Are you waiting 6 months, 9 months, 12 months?
They're saying May, so this year, not next year. So that's kind of cool. And then I did my first. I normally do Kickstarter. What's the other company that does it? It's not Kickstarter. It's some other company. It's like a smaller company. What is it?
Indiegogo.
Another company. There you go. They suckered me in for $150 for a little Cork computer that I'm going to try out. So it's blowing the cash. Blowing the cash.
Well,
making it rain. Money ain't a thing.
For somebody.
So before we get to our special guest really quick, we want to talk about something. So iArcade released, I believe it was today, Sydney Hunter. And for those that don't, Glenn, you actually introduced
Vision.
You actually introduced us to the Collector Vision, and I went and bought Sydney Hunter for the SNES. I got it on the Switch when it came out. Now I have it on the iArcade, and we got to actually get him back on the show. Gamester, what is it? Gamester?
Steven. No, it was Steven Cameron,
Steven.
Who has the Collector Vision. Well, he works with Collector Vision, but he has a ColecoVision Addict,
Yes.
But yeah, CollectorVision's been around a while. They've been making CollectorVision games, some really good ones, and City Hunter is one of those games that kind of became a cross-platform game. It's been pretty popular on the other platforms like the Switch, and so IR Arcade got locked in some of their games, and this is it's a fun game. It's sort of like a newer version of Pitfall, about the stupid alligators that just go like this and you got to jump over. But that type of game.
And
A classic.
Exactly.
Classic, yeah.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And it's a fun game. If you've not played it, go get it. Go check it out. Also, at Games today, released the embargo at 9 o'clock or Pacific time, noon. I'm trying to remember. Noon our time. The brand new Rachel board, which is going to enable guys like Doug, who like to break his pinball machine and add all kinds of other computers to it. But no, the modding community, who's really embraced this, the ability to get that back glass working without a hitch. I bet you're excited for this board.
Yeah, I'm excited. I've been anxiously awaiting on it, and I'm still technically anxiously awaiting it because mine's on a boat in China somewhere on its way to me. But yeah, I mean, it makes it to where the community, if you're already interested in hooking up a PC to your computer or something or not your computer, your pinball machine, and you don't want to mess with the interchanging of the cables and the wires and everything, which is a pain in the butt, honestly. Like, if you want to play the stock tables, then go to your PC, you have to disconnect very fragile wires and place it's not an ideal experience. So the Rachel board is going to allow you to hook it up only once, and then at the flip of the switch, go back and forth between your stock tables on the back glass or the PC image on the back glass. So very handy, very worthwhile, especially like I said, if you're already interested in modding. And $50, I think, is the retail price. Heck of a deal in my opinion. So go for it.
Yeah,
and Rachel, we were on a break.
I knew he was going to say
we were on a
something
break,
like that.
Rachel.
I knew he was going to say something like that. And also, I guess, let me get this right. Wave 5 and onward for the Legends Pinball, they're going to be introducing a new way to a process for ordering. So that's all going to happen here later. And
the express checkout.
Yes. So that should make a lot of you guys happy coming forward here with this pinball machine with the modders and all you guys that are diving into it. I've been waiting for the Rachel board before I even tore it apart because I've watched some other folks, Doug, who know what they're doing and still
basically
break
everybody
their pinball.
that has messed with that cable has had issues at some point in time. So that's why I've told everybody in videos I've made is like, my suggestion is to wait for that board, because the more you mess with those EDP cables, the more likely you are to be stuck without a back glass. So
exactly, and that's what I didn't want to do because I tinker. I'm not a heavy modder like we're talking about B-Kong and Bobby Vu. They've got a cool video. If you want to see it in action, go look at Bobby Vu's channel, To Die For, over at Arcade Brigade. And they did a really cool video showing how it works. I think that's all we have as far as news, really. Today's Mortal Kombat Day, so I think the Mortal Kombat Arcade 1-Up was also released, if I'm not mistaken. Or supposed to be. Let me put it this way. It's supposed to be.
No, I mean, it was released and it sold out in 15 minutes, much to everyone's surprise, because it had a hefty price tag on it, even though it was legitimately an older model with a stool. With that, I mean, so
you gotta have the stool.
Yeah, I mean, it's a nice bundle. You get the riser, the stool, and the arcade, but it was significantly more expensive than it was last year when that original bundle came out. I mean, there's nothing new or superb on this bundle, yet it's still sold out at a hefty markup. So I guess, joke's on us, supply and demand. What do we know?
Yep.
Timing.
That's pretty much it. But also the Mortal Kombat movie is out, so you can watch that tonight after the Retro Buzz if you're so inclined to. I know we are. That's something that we're going to do. And I know iArcade also, besides Sydney Hunter, there was a bunch of other games that they did announce that are going to be available, if not are available right now. So pretty light on the news this week. Nothing really popping out, but there was something that was really cool, and that's this gentleman sitting right here.
Hey.
We have back with us Zach Weddington of the Arcade Dreams, or the arcadedocumentary.com. Welcome back, sir.
Thanks. Good to be back, you guys.
Well, it's great to have you, and I think for some of the folks, I know we've all had the pleasure of speaking with you last time, but I know some of the folks maybe here don't know who you are. Give us a little background. Tell us about how you got involved in doing what you're doing.
Sure. Well, I've just been making videos of all kinds basically my whole life. Ever since I was a little kid, one of those people that as soon as they got their hands on a video camera, just never let it go, and was always experimenting with audio and went to film school, got into the TV business, making commercials, and didn't really, my dream was never really to be a filmmaker. I just love making videos. I love animation and editing, especially. And yeah, just kind of at one point I realized I hadn't made a film of my own. I just worked on other people's and did a lot of commercial work. So it was around it's in the early 2000s. Was it? Boy, I'm losing track of time. Maybe around like 2010 or so, I got the idea to make a documentary about the Amiga computer, which I'm sure you guys probably know is just amazing for games. And yeah, it was kind of a hobby. Spent a few years on it. I was working full time at Comcast during those years, and just yeah, kind of in the background, worked on this documentary about the Amiga, and I saw it as just a hobby, but we wound up getting a good distribution deal to release it, and just lots of love from all kinds of retro people in the retro community. I found out there was a huge overlap, obviously with Amiga fans and then retro gamers who, love retro gaming on all kinds of platforms and are arcade enthusiasts, So yeah, the idea to follow up, the Amiga documentary was something about games, and arcades just seemed like a good idea. So here we are.
Mm-hmm. And it wasn't just arcades that you covered. It was a little bit of everything, right? It was kind of consoles, VR, pinball. I mean, you really kind of covered the entire gamut of gaming as a whole, didn't you?
In what? Arcade Dreams?
Yes.
Well, I mean, not really. That's not out yet. I'm not sure if you know. We're still making it. Yeah. I mean, you can see in the trailer. Yeah, it's pretty much the history of arcades. And it's not, yeah, we might get into consoles a little bit because I think that's part of, the story. Consoles arrive, and of course that has a big effect on the arcade business and arcades in general. But yeah, we'll talk about consoles a little bit, but really, yeah, I mean, when you say the whole gamut, you're right, because, we go back like late, 1800s to kind of pick it up there with the kind of, with the arcade machines that are available at that time, things called bagatelle and weird stuff nobody's ever seen a lot.
Yeah, I don't go back that far, in case you two were wondering. I don't go back to the 1800s with gaming. Okay, yeah. Just quick.
Right. So, I mean, there's what, when I found, because originally I was just going to do, a documentary that talked about video games. Before I did, decided to do Arcade Dreams, I was going to do a documentary about Sega. And, just like, how did Sega come to be? And I found out that Sega's actually much older company than I'd ever thought. It comes back from World War II area. And a lot of people, may or may not know that was, called Service Games, right? It's not even, it didn't even begin as a Japanese company. It began as an American company putting arcade games in Japan, mostly for the benefit of the soldiers who were stationed there after the war. And so it was like, holy cow, their history is more than I thought. And I started finding all these old, pre-video game Sega machines, and was just blown away how cool they were, and was like, what? This topic is bigger than I thought. It's real big. And so we've made it into a 4-part series.
Well, he's talked about Sega, so Doug's in.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm a massive Sega fanboy.
Awesome,
for sure.
Dude. Yeah. Sega for me growing up was always just the pinnacles, with graphics and gameplay. I mean, like I was and I still am a real big graphics nerd, and the Sega stuff just always just floored me. And just the arcade style gameplay, that's always going to be my favorite kind of gaming. So lots of Sega. You'll be happy, man.
Good. Glad to hear it.
Another important fact is that in the multiverse, this is the only one where the Amiga is not running the world. All the other universes, the Amiga has taken over. Just a little tidbit.
Oh yeah, and I'll slip Amiga in there somehow just because I have to. We never give up, like ever.
Well, there was a couple of arcade machines with Amigas in them. So there was Amiga
Yeah.
500, New York Warriors, and one of the soccer games. So the Amiga was in the arcades.
Was it the Ballet Sente games? I think I've got that right. Ballet Sente or something like that. I think was the company. I got it.
Could be.
And it's on our list. We're doing our research.
I trust you for getting that right. You do your due diligence there. I'll just play the game.
Well, it's funny. Yeah, just so it's clear, and you might catch me at some point, like you'll be like, how come Zach didn't know that? Like pretty common game or whatever. Like you know what I mean? I love arcades. I know them, and I call myself mainly a retro gamer now. Don't play a lot of newer stuff, but the point is my game knowledge is not super extensive, but luckily we've got people on our team who are just like encyclopedias of this stuff. And they're the ones doing a lot of the research and a lot of the writing. So, man, it really is a team effort.
So were you worried when COVID hit doing this new documentary?
Yeah, man. Because it's like so many reasons to be worried about it, right? Like, we were still looking for funding. We didn't originally necessarily want to do a Kickstarter. We thought, we'll try to fund it another way. And then it just so happened, Kickstarter kind of changed that. We're like, you know what, people maybe not so generous right now with backing an independent film, and so we're like, okay, we have to do a Kickstarter, and if we're gonna do it, we're gonna do it big and really plan it out, make it look beautiful, and give people awesome stuff. And then right as we were getting ready to launch it, we met a guy, finally the kind of person that we'd wanted to meet, who has a little money, hasn't actually invested in independent films before, and it's just a pinball nut. So yeah, dude, kind of best of both worlds. Got a little investment there, and then the Kickstarter was a huge hit. We went over our goal. But it's like, what's COVID gonna mean? The cool part is so we, after we finished our Kickstarter in November, we took the time just to really let's really research, let's really get a lot of writing and planning done, so that when it's time to shoot again, everything can be on point and well planned out. And so now we're warming up. I think COVID, we'll see how it goes, but I anticipate the next few months it's not gonna be a major deal. We actually did a shoot just this last weekend with good old Amiga Bill, which some of you may know. I don't know that you certainly do, Glenn. He's filming our documentary, and we did a small shoot at an arcade here in Pennsylvania, and it was just awesome.
We like Amiga
Amiga
Bill.
Bill was a guest on this very show, and he did Hamilton. Anyone who enjoys the musical Hamilton, he was involved with that. He's won an Oscar for his videography, and he's another Amiga fanboy like myself. So good guy, Amiga Bill.
Yeah, man.
So I didn't follow really the Kickstarter because everything that happened with COVID and everything. And for the folks that are watching, what's the timeline that folks are going to be able to watch this this documentary if they're interested?
Sure. We're about halfway shot. We anticipate being finished with the editing like end of summer next year.
Very cool.
So, and then, that gives you a rough, in terms of when they'll be able to watch it, that's a function of how the distribution deals go. We did get a bite from a distributor who was just, I think anybody with half a brain could see that this is going to be something that people really like, and it's so funny because I think really good ideas, mine's a little different. It's not your typical documentary. It's not like, Atari Game Over. It's not like Insert Coin. It's not like, what is the one that just came out on Netflix? Oh boy, I forget the name. Yeah, I forget the name because it's so generic. Ours is a little bit different. It's a little bit more cinematic, and I think it'll be a little bit more thrilling to the audience. It's not a documentary about Billy Mitchell, not at all. But it's so funny. People, I realize now, the trouble that, inventors and other types of entrepreneurs go through. You can come up with an awesome idea where you're just like, this is amazing. Mm-hmm. But the world might not necessarily see it until they start to see it, Once we finally had our, our teaser trailer, it was like, ooh, wait a minute, maybe Zach was right. And so, yeah, like we are starting to get attention from distributors, which I think at this stage in the game is really a great sign.
Well,
Mhm.
and I think, yeah, Doug and Glenn, you guys know how much they shot when we did the TV show, when I was on Dr. Temple Popper. They shot, I mean, I know for me, they shot like 2 full days of 12-hour days, and they used maybe, what, 3 minutes of footage of where we sat here and did, the show and setting up, and they had me redo this and redo
My
that.
ass still has a dent in it from sitting in the chair, waiting for them to come out and do the recording. Doug and I are just waiting, and at least I got the last word in.
But they did, but they did it, and I don't think people realize, like, when you say summer of next year, you're talking about what, a full length 1 hour, hour and a half, maybe 2 hour documentary. That's a lot of
4
editing.
parts, so
Yeah.
No, it'll be 4 45-minute.
So
Yeah.
so now you're talking almost
No,
4
actually,
hour
well,
documentary.
3. No, the fourth one's a surprise. You're the first
Okay.
thing right here. Yeah, we expanded it to 4, and then we're gonna let the backers know, like, hey, guess what, guys? Get one more episode than you paid for.
And
But still, that's a long
talking
time.
about that and how well the Kickstarter went. I know you said you weren't doing it in this one. Would you consider doing the history of gaming consoles? Because just like in the arcades, I actually think that the game consoles, the cutthroat tactics, the behind the
I think
scenes
it
drama, totally trumps the arcade industry.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. Well, here's how it goes. So if the documentary goes well, we're going to make additional episodes, and we might, well, I'm not sure how those will be funded. It could be more kickstarting, or it could be, for example, like we've had companies sponsor us. We're working with Incredible Technologies, who are the people behind the Golden Tee arcade games, the golf ones.
Mhm.
And so we would absolutely, I mean, I think a lot of people don't realize this. Like, I just love making documentaries on cool topics, and like, I'll do anything if we have the support, and especially if it's something that's already in our wheelhouse. I would love to do,
All right.
my version, our version, maybe, you know what I mean? Maybe a different version than what you've seen about some of this gaming history. Consoles be amazing.
Let's do this. So
Yeah.
when you finish this up, okay, I've got the perfect documentary for you, okay? And I think Doug's picking
Here's
up
the
where I'm putting
elevator
down.
pitch.
All right. I think you need to do a documentary at Glenn's house, because I think everybody wants to see Glenn's collection, why he has 5 of everything in bags, wrapped up, history from like 40
no idea.
years of video. Look at him. I mean, just look behind him. I mean,
you don't know how right. Yeah, I'm gonna keep it real right now. You're totally on point, because when you make a doc, you are, because you've already nailed something that we already discussed quite heavily. Like, we realized throughout the course of making this documentary, there's like, we probably have another documentary within this same footage that's about collectors.
right.
Mhm.
And
True.
like we've I know a few,
What about hoarders?
and some
Got
of them
hoarders?
haven't even shot. Like, there's another episode that's just about collectors, maybe,
That
like,
could be cool, or like
Brady.
home arcades, because that's huge right now. Whether they're emulated, real, whatever, I think you could do a whole documentary series on all the people out there with home arcades, whether they're YouTube celebrities, whether they're just everyday blue collar working people. Some of these guys got some really ridiculous home arcades. Like, honestly, like I thought I had a ridiculous one, but I've seen some ones that just make me drool, and it's just
Well,
like,
especially now with the pandemic. I mean, people were staying home more than ever. So, I mean, people were building, adding on, amassing their collections even more tenfold, just because they were staying home so much longer. So a lot of people are going out and buying those arcades, building those arcades, pinball machines, video game, retro gaming collections, building onto their man caves, their basements, their theater rooms, all sorts of that got added on exponentially because of the pandemic.
yep.
Yeah, man.
And there's a
Yeah,
question here for you, actually, Zach, from Will Arcade. I'm sorry, that's not it. He's asking that. It's Kai 48 or something
Kal-El
like that.
48.
Call-out. All right. Will Arcade Dreams be available on physical media such as Blu-ray, or will it only be available via digital distribution?
We're not sure. I'm going to tell you, it is absolutely my intention to do physical media, and especially
Yes.
the older I get, and I see dude. You see the temporary nature of the streaming stuff. I thought even some of my favorite songs would always be on, iTunes Rhapsody or any of that stuff, and like things come and go, and movies are even worse, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, you're like,
Yep.
oh yeah, I'm gonna
Yep.
go watch this thing again. And it's like, what
it's
happens is,
gone.
I mean, just to kind of demystify this, I'm not sure if everybody knows, but I can tell you from having released a film myself, you know, a company pays for windows, right? A windows of time to own and distribute your film. So Viva Amiga, you know, that had a 3-year window, right? Where, you know, it was on, you know, all the different services, and it had been on Hulu for a year. And then, you know, now that window's up, you can't get Viva Amiga right now. It's not for sale anywhere.
Right.
And that's not necessarily because I don't want to sell it. It's just like, well, the people that were responsible for handling all that stuff, you know, the time is over. And so now the rights have reverted to me. So yeah, we actually would like to release that again. You know what I mean? And do a physical there if we can, because I think the physical is just, not only is it cool to own it if you're a collector, I mean, it's just, you'll always be able to watch it. You know that, you know. You might want 2 years.
That's
from
what
Plus,
they
it
want.
kind of ties
Especially
into the
with something
retro
like this.
major.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's, you know, Arcade Dreams especially is something I would call evergreen. That means that, like, you know, it's never going to be really dated. We're dealing with stuff that's, you know, 50, 60, 70-year-old history in it now. So it's already dated from that perspective. I think that's something that you'll be able to watch years from now and get the same kind of kick out of it, I hope.
If you guys are just tuning in, I know I started up a secondary stream to Haps. One of the viewers asked, say, hey, can you put it back on Haps? You missed the first 5 minutes. We are speaking right now to Zach, who is the director, owner, all that good stuff of Arcade Dreams. If you want to check it out, go to arcadedocumentary.com. He's got a nice trailer on here about the documentary series that's coming up, and we had him on the show a while back where he did a Kickstarter where you could get involved and help supplement his journey. And if you watch the trailer, it's pretty awesome. And so that's where we're at right now. Before we go any further back into this, I do want to give Angel a shout out. I don't know if you guys got yours today, but I'm going to spoil it here for you. Angel sent a few of us, Glenn and Doug, a special package. So if you didn't get it, here's a sneak little peek of it. I installed it up on here. Angel is going to be making these logo light boxes that you guys can put in your arcade if you so want to. And it is really nice. So I put that up above inside of the arcade room going down. He sent me one that says like on air that I could put in, but I really like that one there. So I
Thanks for spoiling the surprise.
I did.
Man.
I told Angel, I said, I'm going to give him a plug
It's
tonight.
Christmas. It's Christmas morning.
So your guys should be there any day because he sent them all at the same time. So if you guys,
No,
it's a complete
my
light
male
box.
Saving guy. My
Yes.
neighbor may have it for all I know.
Well, he could. But if you guys are in the market for any kind of marquees, definitely check out Angel. If you haven't seen it, check it out. So if you guys are in the market for a marquee and now soon to be light boxes, he's going to shoot me for saying that, but I know he's wanting to do these light boxes for you guys. Contact Angel on Facebook. The man is a genius when it comes to some of this stuff. Like I said, he just kept
Quality
saying,
work.
yeah, he kept saying there's a package coming for it. Did you get it? Did you get it? I'm like, nah, I didn't get it yet. You know, USPS, slow as molasses. And then I got it today, and I was like, holy smokes. So looks really cool. I had to show that. So we're here talking with Zach, and I know, Glenn, you had something you wanted to ask him, so I'm going to kick it over to you.
I did. I know we said before we were talking about Sega, you know, you had a couple surprises with that. Funny, I did know that. What was your next, like, biggest surprise in doing this? What is something that totally took you by surprise in getting this research done for this particular film you're working on?
I would say, well, a good surprise that comes to mind, not necessarily in terms of research, but just in terms of, like, you know, that one cool thing about this documentary, there's just also, I guess you call it like a synergy or like a serendipity stuff that kind of happens. You know, I think I mentioned that, yeah, we came in contact with this guy named Burge Garabedian. You know, he's invested in independent documentaries before, and you know, like it just the kind of we had never imagined we would meet such a cool guy that really believed in our film and wanted to support us financially so that we could keep it going. You know, it had been about 1.5 years, and you know, I spent a lot of money of my own to get it going. And then, yeah, we were just hoping somebody would see the vision, and you know, we put the trailer together and a little website, and another guy who's actually in the documentary posted it on this forum, Pinside. You guys know, I'm sure, Pinside.
Mm-hmm.
You know, yeah, post on there, and I mean, it's the kind of thing that never happens. So, like, Burge saw the post. It's like, I want to talk to this guy making the film, and the first thing, just right out of the gate, he said, I love what you're doing, and I want to just invest in this. And it's like, what?
Okay, all right.
That never happened. And I've been, you know, I've been trying to get something like that to happen and beat my brains out with these other people who I know, you know, like I'll be honest, these people are like, yeah, man, we support the community and we support the people in it and the projects and all this stuff. And I'm like, oh, cool. Maybe, you know, they'll support ours. And it was like, not really. By support, it just means they buy more machines. And we're like, okay, that's not supporting. So we're like, damn, if only someone was generous and had a generous heart, you know? And we meet this amazing dude who's just like, want some money? And we're like, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And then, yeah, you know, now he's become a great friend, you know, and he's one of our executive producers, you know, because that's usually what executive producer means, you know.
I actually have one follow-up question. If I may interject, was I myself
Time's up.
didn't
Moving
even
on.
realize,
I'm just kidding.
I mean, I know, you know, with the Space War being the first commercially available like arcade style game, I really had no idea the history of these mechanical machines. It went back all the way to the 1800s. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Boy, yeah. I mean, there's just all kinds of weird stuff. You know, I don't know if everybody knows what bagatelle is, but it's like, it's kind of like pachinko in a way, but it's, you know, different format. And then, like, you know, that's kind of like, you know, I guess you'd say like the Godfather game of pinball, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so funny because you could see that pinball and other games, they all kind of evolved from other games like bagatelle. You know, like when I did a pinball shoot this weekend, a pinball themed shoot for the documentary, this guy kept talking about pool and billiards, and you know, just like, I'm like, boy, it's really kind of similar because you know, I found out something really cool this weekend. I'm not a huge pinball guy, but I didn't know that you could actually put English, you know, like backspin on a pinball.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, you know, and then we started talking about pool, you know, and how that's a real important. If you want to be a super pro player, you know, you start putting stuff like English on the ball to make the ball really go when you want, when you really learn how to control it. And so, you know, like, yeah, you start to see these other kind of connections, you know, like one thing that I couldn't believe that I discovered, you know, I was a super fan of Hang On and Super Hang On from Sega, you know, back when those games were out in the 80s. And I started looking at, you know, games that Sega did, you know, like in the 60s and 70s. And damn, it's basically Hang On. Only it's a mechanical version. Like it looks and plays almost like it in a way.
You know, you think about that, guys. Think about how hard a pinball machine.
Like,
Yeah, think
It's the
about like a
same freaking
pinball
game.
machine,
And
how
you see,
hard
like,
that is to keep
oh,
it
they just
working.
keep making.
And now you're talking a mechanical hang-on. Just think about that for a second. How much these
Yeah,
guys had to put the gearing in,
I know.
and all
It's
this
got magnets in it.
old
I
school
mean,
building.
yeah. It's that kind of stuff that just, made me realize, like, damn, this documentary, it needs to go beyond video games. Because, like, I mean, that's the stuff we know and love. But when you actually learn and see how the games that you love, evolve to be, I mean, to me, that's the stuff of a good movie,
And
That's what we worry about. We worry about missing and forgetting that part of. I didn't even know it. I always thought like space, Space War was it. So there's so a lot of history I didn't know about. So I'm really interested in that part of it.
so
Something that's older than me. It's older than me, guys.
So
It's something older than me.
Zach, Adam wants to know in the chat room, as it pertains to the soundtrack for your Arcade Dream documentary, what genre of music will be included in the soundtrack?
That's a really good question. Again, like a lot of other aspects of the documentary, we're not doing your same old, same old. That means that we're not going to give a bunch of music which sounds like vaguely 80s. You know what I mean? Like synthwave. And let me tell you, I love that stuff. And when I'm in the right mood, it's great. But I feel like people don't really try something cool with the music, and we are. So what you're going to hear as we move through time, right? So in the series, we're moving through time, basically through the whole 20th century of gaming. And as we move through time, well, the popular music of the time, that's going to be kind of the mood of the soundtrack, right? Because I thought about this. I'm like, well, what does an arcade really sound like beyond just the sound that the games are making? Like often it's really what, might be playing on your Walkman, or on a jukebox if the arcade has one, and many do. And I'm like, what's playing there? How do I put you back in time? So yeah, that's what we're going to be doing, man. You're going to hear rock and roll. You're going to hear disco. You're going to hear, like ragtime. Just anything, that kind of goes, I think, along with the flavor of the times.
Jukebox is a bad word on this show, just so you know.
Is it?
That's not something we
No,
talk
it is
about.
not. It is a great word.
It's not a good no.
So Zach, you mentioned a couple of the other documentaries that have kind of already touched base in the arcade realm. What are you guys doing to try to avoid some of those, pronounced tropes and stereotypes that those documentaries have already kind of, covered? Are you guys, you said you're already going to try to focus on being a little more cinematic, but what kind of approach are you coming to with your documentary that avoids, rehashing the same old, same old?
Yeah, well, like one thing is, the film is not about just like great gamers. You know what I mean? I feel like a lot of documentaries focus on the champions. You know what I mean? Of arcade games, and like I while I definitely want to talk about like competitive gaming and who are the best players in my documentary, I don't really want that to be the focus, because I think that there's just a lot more to talk about, and especially with arcades, people have never taken the time to really, talk to arcade operators, and people who worked in arcades, and what's their experience of working in an arcade like. You know what I mean? Like, why would somebody choose to, work in arcade? I mean, because I know, like, I don't know about you guys, but, I was like 8 or 9. I just assumed that I would be working in an arcade at age.
Sound like the sweetest gig possible, yeah.
Yeah, right? Like, I just assumed I would be. And like, well, the people that are, how did you get here? You know what I mean? And a lot of them have amazing stories and funny stories too. Like one story we captured is a guy who was operating, had like a route of machines that was just up and down California, and he tells stories of going into malls at like 3 a.m., when like it's totally surreal and everything's closed down, and like, he's worried about getting mugged on the way out because he's got thousands of dollars in quarters on him, and just like, so he's just trying to lift these giant sacks, and it's like, kids, his kids with him trying to help him. Of course, the sacks are breaking open, and just stuff like that. Like you're never like, what's it really like to do that? Yeah, I want to get into that. I don't think that's been done.
That's a good point, and I think you bring up a good part about the arcade, operators, because especially now, I mean, that's a lost art in itself. I mean, people don't really know how to work on these old machines, and if they do, they're relying solely on information they find in message boards and on YouTube videos and things like that, because all those old school guys that had that career, like TV repairman, arcade operators, things like that, those trades don't really exist anymore.
Yeah, yeah. It's wild. Yeah, like one of the guys that's in the documentary that we shot last weekend, he, had a pretty when he was younger, he actually did, work and run arcades, and like a lot of other people, I guess it was maybe early 2000s, he was like, okay, this thing is dead. Because arcades were really having a tough time. I remember I could see the writing on the wall. Like people talk about the crash of the 80s, you know what I mean? Like there was, I think, an even worse crash that happened in the late 90s, early 2000s for arcades because they were just shutting down all over the place. And so he got out of the business and then, went the responsible route and got an IT job, and stayed at that for like 10 years. And then just like a year or two before COVID, jumps off to get back into the arcade business again because he's like, I'm tired. I want to do what I love, And then boom, all the arcades he worked before shut down.
Rough luck. Yeah.
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 And
they hold it. Now that's the Barcade chain, but they're reopening stuff all over the place fully. Yeah. And we shot them too.
So Jamie wants to know, does Zach touch on the modern arcade much in his documentary? And I'm not exactly sure how modern he's talking. I know you said you're more of a retro gamer, but I know there's a lot of new arcades that are out now that you can go. Like I know the arcades that just recently closed in our mall, they were all running PCs inside, and I'm sure some of it was emulated, but it was an actual setup just like the arcades that we can get now, the 3/4 scale. Do you cover much of that in the documentary?
Yeah, we will. We plan to. We just we've been while we've been waiting for COVID to be over, we've been doing location scouts. And we went to a place called Main Event. I think the arcades of today, your choices are probably like retro arcades, like barcades and stuff. That'll have older games that, or what are called FECs, the Family Entertainment Centers. We went to one called Main Event that's located about an hour, I guess, so we 30, 45 minutes here from just outside of Philadelphia. And, yeah, man, it's an arcade. Like there's tons of new games and the whole, all these genres are there. You've got, still got your claw machines, and then you've got weird things where it's like, it's Angry Birds, but it's a giant flat screen, and then it gives you tickets and,
Yeah, a lot of prize redemption type of games.
Got a whole gamut, You'll see the latest Raw Thrills games, and just the
Fruit Ninja
stuff with giant
Fruit Ninja's fun in the newer arcades.
All that stuff. It's so weird to see. Like, okay, now I guess games start on your phone and then they go to the arcade. That's totally how it goes.
On transition.
And there's some games.
But no, that's the real world, and we think that arcades are more awesome than ever. And some kid out there right now that's going to arcades now, like he's going to have fond memories of those, just like we do the ones in the 80s. So it's absolutely essential to go to modern arcades in this.
I have to agree with this comment here.
Yeah.
Dylan J. There's no soul in those card swipe machines. I agree.
That's takes for a turtle. That's like a ninja, right?
Yeah. That's only because you care. I like to talk to a kid now and like, do they feel? Well, what about the soul part of it?
I know he's probably like, you actually
like,
put money. What is money? You actually put that in the machine? We just go to Chuck E. Cheese and swipe the card.
Yeah, I mean the card swipes by design, so it disenfranchises and disconnects the child from the money. So they're just swipe. They don't have that, physical, tangible. Hey, this is how much currency I'm losing quickly. They just swipe and go back to mom and dad and say, put more money on the card, please.
It's more than that, Doug. They make it so the games and what's on your card never equal out. So you have money left on the card, or you got to refill the damn thing. They get you every time.
You always have that awkward balance on there.
I don't have problems with the cards in general, but that is dirty, and I hate it because I'm a year later I'll be thinking, like, oh, I got like $3 on that David Buster's card, man.
Come to think about it, now that you say that, I think I have like $15 or $20 left on this Waldemir card. That's it's a theme park that you had to use to buy food and stuff.
Yep.
Oh, they get you coming and going. I bet you
design.
They do.
Like you can't use it. You can only use it there. They won't take cash, and you can't use a debit card. So you have to go to the office, buy it with a preloaded card, and then you swipe their card. And if you don't use it, well, you lose it.
Well, in their case, they may lose it because do I have it over here? Yes, I do. Well, in my case, they're losing it. Okay, Chuck E. Cheese, come after me, man. I got your tokens.
Oh,
here.
I got them too. I
Yeah.
They're
I
my
have them.
tokens, Chuck E. Cheese. Ha!
I have some of them too. We actually found them in the truck when I traded in for my new truck 2 years ago.
Oh, sweet. Talk
I've-
about a find.
Well, so I saved them from my daughter, and we
Mhm.
kept them in the truck because if we'd stop at Chuck E. Cheese, well, by that time she had outgrown it, and she was just like, yeah, I really don't care, you know. But now when my son goes, she's like, yeah, I used to have to carry a cup of quarters around. Well, she called them quarters, but they were tokens.
Yeah.
She's like, you just strap a card to your wrist and swipe it, she goes. So she's kind of understanding now, too, how things have changed.
These are things that would be great in the documentary because these are things
Yes.
that I started with quarters, obviously, but these are just things you miss. These small little details. Go in there and pushing this in and having it clink, or it's stealing it, and you have to find the
Well,
guy.
what
Look,
about
you
the
stole my
guys?
quarter.
I don't know about you guys, but the real hardcore players that I used to remember in the arcades, they would stack quarters up on the screen on either
Oh, yeah.
side of the screen to let you know, like, you ain't getting on this machine anytime soon. So you
Well,
just
that
best
or
be going.
if you got next or whatever, you'd put your quarter up
Right.
and say, I got next, and you'd stand in line, especially in the fighting games for sure.
Like, you knew that there's already a line ahead of you, so you ain't moving. So,
Mhm.
go find something else. But none of these kids, Zach, are going to know anything about this. And
No,
That's
and
what this is
they,
gonna be
they,
cool.
they need to. I think. Well, you know what's even cooler, man? It's like I feel like the kids of today they really appreciate stuff from our generation. Like I didn't. I just
look at their
assumed that they
clothes.
wouldn't know.
Look
Dude,
at their
I know.
clothes.
Oh yeah, but what I mean, like I started noticing this because while I was out promoting Arcade Dreams, I would just bring like a little Raspberry Pi. I was going to these different vintage computer shows, and people were bringing their kids there, and I would always bring a Raspberry Pi and a monitor, right, so kids could just play, Robotron or something if they want to, while I tell them about the documentary. And like, kids would just like be stuck on that, man. They've never seen anything like it. I'm like, whoa, this is a video game. I have no idea that I haven't seen it. Like dude. I mean, when we were just at this place called the Village Arcade, which was mainly pinball, but they had a Pac-Man machine. That day, there just happened to be a girl there who's playing Pac-Man for the second time in her life. The first time was 2 days ago because Google, you know how Google does their little, I forget what it's called up top, their little logo.
Yeah.
And sometimes it'll have something like a video game built on it. Well, they did Pac-Man. And that's the first time she ever heard of Pac-Man. And she's like a teenager, right? She's like 18.
my.
Wow.
She's like, oh, wow,
Sheltered
it's
life.
Pac-Man, huh? Interesting. And then, yeah, her second time is like, what? They have this same game here that was on Google.
Oh, man.
Right?
I mean, at least she was, inquisitive enough to go check it out,
Well, so I got a question real quick for you, Glenn. Only because you brought up the Chuck E. Cheese tokens. And somebody in the chat room says that Chuck E. Cheese was one of the first to adopt tokens. You were one of the ones that complained that they went, like, the machines that they switched from quarters to tokens, weren't you?
Yep. Yeah.
I figured.
Well, I was young back then. I mean, I was. And the first time I went to Chuck E. Cheese, it was my aunt's house in New Jersey. I never heard of it. And I went there. Back then, it was quarters. You put in quarters. And then when my son came around, there was one up here in Poughkeepsie, New York. I took him there. It was tokens. And a lot of arcades went that way because they want your cash. And whether you use those tokens or not, the tokens cost them not a quarter, probably cost them maybe a couple pennies a piece. They want that money. So, and you're going to spend the tokens, unless you're me, and put them in bags when you take them home.
That
I
doesn't
do,
surprise
and I
me.
do. Actually, I have more over there in a bag with a couple of Chuck E. Cheese, tickets you win.
It
My
would have been.
son collected thousands, and he kept saving it. And I got all this like almost transparent paper that used to have, credit on it for
Yeah.
buying a toy.
Faded
But they've been
now,
sitting there now
yeah.
so long. Yeah, they faded. They're like, sir, this is blank. Well, it wasn't blank before, man. There's like a million on there.
You got to get the lemon juice out and hold it up next to a
There
candle.
you go.
To bring the ink back.
So there's a
Those are
question.
awesome,
Well, not a
man.
question, but a comment from Alfred here in the chat room, and this might be good. Also, it would have been good for your documentary, but he says, I remember playing arcade games in Coney Island in Brooklyn, New York. It really sucks that they had to close down. That would have been really cool. Or have you gone out even? I know Richie Knuckles, his arcade's in New Jersey there, which is right by Philadelphia. Have you reached out to him maybe to go to his arcade and add some filming in there?
Yeah. We did talk to him right before COVID hit. And it's just been one of those things like, all right, we have to reconnect. But yeah, I plan to.
Cool.
I mean, he's got a lot going on, and definitely got great shooting spaces, which is awesome for us. Yeah, there he is.
Mhm.
Oh, is that what you're showing, Ricky? Oh, Richie Knuckles. You look at Glenn.
Yeah.
Oh, and I
So I
also
imagine that's been a little bit problematic though for you to plan out the shoots and everything. Number one, with COVID happening, and number two, with COVID, directly impacting a lot of these arcade businesses to where they've had to close down temporarily, and in some dire cases, close down permanently just because they couldn't survive during the pandemic.
Yeah. Here's what's very interesting about and that I like about documentaries, especially this kind. So, there's a little bit of method to the madness. The kind of documentary that I make, with maybe a little bit of exception here and there, it's so easy to pivot. You know what I mean? If one arcade closes down, it's like, well, you know what? There's a lot of arcades opening up, believe it or not, right now. One just opened. I mean, they had one that just opened up down in Tennessee, where
Yeah,
it's
it's
like,
huge.
yeah, right. That one,
Mhm.
that just opened up. It's easy to pivot to a new one. You know what I mean? And then in terms of the shooting, we decided, you know what? It's a blessing because we don't want to go out and shoot a whole bunch right now with just, we always prepared. We always have interview questions. We always know what we want to talk about. We always know kind of the B-roll we want to get. But you know what? Let's just get our minds off shooting and really focus on the story. Because
go.
you hear from people when they like the movie, what's the thing they usually objecting to? It's not usually, the rendering wasn't so great on the shadow, you know what I mean? The shadow detail and the reflections or whatever in CGI. They complain that the story sucks. So we're like, you know what? Let's make sure the story is really there, that it's compelling, and that it keeps the viewer engaged. So we decided, you know what?
I was gonna say what
So
you're
instead of
trying to
shooting,
say is
now that things are opening up, we're going to shoot.
what you're trying to say is that when he came on the show here, he didn't have any questions. We didn't have anything prepared for him, and we're just shooting off the hip at him, and he's just like, "What are we gonna do?"
Yeah, well, it all comes back. Done a few of these, so
Yeah, it's funny. They're all going. They're like, "How comes Glenn doesn't have that in a plastic bag?" And they're like, "Oh, probably because he was watching it before the show started." The Richie Knuckles documentary.
I pulled it out of the bag.
See?
Yeah, I'm not. I'm not that uncouth. If I'm gonna put it on the camera, I'll pull out the bag for a minute. It's like when I go on a date. I take the bag off my head. She's got to look at me for a while. You put it on the bag.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my.
But somebody did say they actually shot me a text and they said Glenn should be late more often from work because then he's in high definition when he does the show.
Mhm.
Is it coming out? Is it coming out better than normal today?
Yeah, like you're super high definition.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? Make it closer.
and I'm
Hey,
like
how you doing?
looks like I'm on like a flip phone.
Well,
I feel like I'm on
you
like,
can't
That's
control
usually
your.
me.
But you're
It's retro.
Yeah, you look like you're taking over for Glenn. That's usually how Glenn looks. But you're in the Philadelphia area, and you guys had some bad weather the last. I think because my main company works in the company's based out of Westchester. I work for them remote, and they said some bad winds came through yesterday, so they lost internet and whatnot. So I'm sure you're feeling some kind of effects from that, right?
Yeah, I think so. I really do. Yeah. Internet here is a little weird. So yeah, not Steven's fault. No one's fault but Comcast.
No,
probably.
it's all good, and that just means we'll have to have him back on when he gets closer to release. And so before we got to wrap this up, let's talk about you talked about distribution and what's the process? I mean, obviously you guys are still filming, and that I mean anybody that does video content, Doug, Glenn, myself. Tell you, anytime you want to do something really good, it takes a lot of time, even for a 20-minute YouTube video.
That's why I'm done so quick.
You can just set the camera up, talk to the camera, hold up a few things, but if you want to get the shots like Doug does, and we talked about how like I've been trying to mimic that in my videos, it takes a while. It takes time, just like with the live shows like this. It takes time. You have to have multiple things set up, be ready to go. Zach, you're doing that. How are you finding time to now also look for these partners that are going to distribute your film? I mean, is this a challenge for you? Is this something that you have designated people working on? I mean, I know this is a loaded question, but
yeah, it's something that we're working on now. Ultimately, I'd like to have some kind of a sales agent, And we so far haven't really found the person that we like. I think that really sees the vision. But we did actually get some emails, and then I did a call with a company that I felt really understood the potential of our documentary. And when we talked about what they would do with it, they're like, well, we really think that the audience is worldwide for this, because it's a topic which everybody knows about, and visually it's very interesting, and just something that's just games are global, games are international, and they said that we'd love to get you a deal with probably someone like HBO Max.
Yeah,
and
nice.
he said, but it goes beyond that for us. He's like, we're talking about cable networks down in South America. We're talking about Japanese distribution. He's like, we think NHK. This is something that NHK would buy. And I'm like, nice. I like how you're thinking, dude, because I want as many people to see this as possible. So
absolutely,
we're
looking for an agent. So right now they're coming to me. You know what I mean?
Talk about that.
What?
What were you saying, Glenn?
I was saying when you play it down in Japan, will they fix the audio so when you're talking?
Oh, that's why he was doing that. He was doing the the delay. I was like,
wah, wah.
You're talking over him. Like, can't hear him.
Yes, yeah. I'm gonna hire people like Hollywood actors, and it's gonna be beautiful.
So, do you have another potential documentary in the pipeline that you don't have to give it away if you do, but is there something as a follow-up to this maybe that's coming that you're already starting to think about and churn about that maybe you'll show up on Kickstarter? Sorry, it's the journalist side of me.
Like Doug's favorite pinball table documentary or something like that.
Yeah, like you could just, that sort of thing.
I've got like 4 ideas. Because you're right. I'm glad you're asking, because it's extremely important to have something ready to go when your film comes out, because that's when you get all the attention, right?
Yeah.
And you want to be able to pivot to something. So yeah, I've got like 4 things that are in the pipeline. I don't know necessarily what we'll do next. What we're hoping is that we'll get funding to do a second season of Arcade Dreams.
Nice.
Where we focus on things like, talked about, maybe this really is where we spend some time seriously talking about consoles. Or, maybe this is, I know there's other tangential topics that people want to see.
Home arcades.
Stuff like home arcades,
Hoarders,
yes, even
hoarders,
land games.
hoarders.
You know what I mean? I was talking with Mika Bill, just the other night. He's like, man, I really missed the LAN parties. You know what I mean?
Oh, that's true.
And that's kind of like, I was like, you know what? That's like having a sophisticated arcade in your house. Really having a LAN party, you know what I mean? Because it's multiplayer and all this kind of stuff that the arcades were kind of trying to simulate at the time. So, yeah.
It was
Maybe
good times bringing
lines.
our Xboxes around the dorm rooms and literally taping cardboard on the screen so people couldn't see certain sections of the gameplay going on. It's good times.
We do that now on like Saturday nights. We have some folks over, especially like through the pandemic. We've been doing the Fortnite now recently, where I play on the PlayStation 5, but everybody else plays on a Switch. So obviously you're still playing with headsets because you want to hear people walking up on you. But certain people have to mute their mics because otherwise you hear echo after echo after echo because everybody's all in the same room. We're all in the same network, and there's 2 teams. There's like 8 people you're playing. And some of the guys that you're playing with are online. They're not physically in the house. So when you said LAN party, it brought back me. I'm like, I knew I did this before. Where did I do it?
Right.
College. So it's kind of interesting. Anybody else have any final questions for Zach before we have to wrap this up? I know you guys are all itching to go watch Mortal Kombat and the Justice League. I think that was also put out. I didn't get to see that, but that's one that I want to see tonight.
There was one question in the chat from Paul Burns. It says, are you thinking about shooting at the Galloping Ghost arcade? So very famous arcade, I think, was it Illinois?
Yeah, man.
Good question.
It is. Yeah, in fact, we already did a small shoot there, just kind of back when we were floating the idea. Yeah, I got with Doc Mac, and we did a quick little interview and got coverage of him doing his, kind of, game announcements and stuff, for his streams. And we can't wait to go back. We are doing a massive shoot in the Chicagoland area in the summer, late summer, early fall. And yeah, we'd love to go back to the Galloping Ghost, and I think get it documented properly, documented it a little more cinematically, and then yeah, we'll be going to other arcades in the area, and then that's where we'll be doing some of our bigger interviews with some of the inventors of this stuff, right?
Awesome. Did you see any other questions there, Doug? I'm looking at Haps. I'm not seeing anything on Haps. And also,
That was the last question mark I saw.
all right, well, we really appreciate you, Zach, coming on here and jumping through some hoops to try to get your video.
Thanks, guys.
If you guys want to check out
Yeah, man.
more, he's got his own YouTube channel. If you guys want to go over to youtube.com/ I believe it's Arcade Dreams.
Don't do that. Yeah. No, that's not official yet. Just go to arcadedocumentary.com.
Okay.
You'll find our socials on there. The trailer's on the homepage, arcadedocumentary.com.
There you
Yeah,
go.
if you click, of course, the title there, click my icon there in the top. That'll take you to our YouTube channel.
There you
It's
go.
Arcade Dreams DOC on all different social medias. Definitely want to check out our Facebook page, especially. Follow me on Twitter. You know the deal.
So I just clicked on it so people can see. And you can come
At
over here and
Arcade
like
Dreams
it.
DOC. Yeah, we're that on everything, I think.
So make sure you guys go check that out. And also, you can watch the full documentary, or I'm sorry, the trailer to the documentary on there as well, and go through some gallery photos and other cool stuff that Zach has on his website. Again, thank you so much for taking the time to join us.
You're welcome, guys. All right. I'll be in touch.
Also, we have Mr. Douglas Smith, Mr. Cool Toy, who's bringing back plastic. He's
That's what I do.
I mean, he's got
It's in the
Glenn and
name.
I buying all these different action figures to hold on to, and you're just a bad influence on us.
I do what I can.
And now you look at this is the first time you guys are going to see this. Not only is he putting them in bags, but now he's keeping them in the plastic too. Well, I can't say
I
anything.
don't know
All
what
my
to
action.
do. I've been thinking about maybe I should do a video. Do I open it? Maybe I get a
Doug-
poll, the user
Doug
poll,
already said
whether I
open
should
them.
open these or not.
Doug,
Yeah,
Doug
I know. But
already
you
said
guys don't
open 'em.
count. It's the fans that count, man. You guys are just, you guys making me spend the money. I don't know. I don't know what to do, people. Help!
Let me see something
I'm running out
here.
of bags. I gotta go back to the store. I'm almost out of bags. What am I gonna do? Need bags.
Oh,
Gonna have to keep
anyways,
saving
yeah, you guys can fill and debate him about doing all this. Go to his YouTube channel, youtube.com/gplanamento, or one of his bazillion Facebook groups, and do all that. See, I'm torn with you guys, or I should say with Glenn. All my action figures of wrestlers and Ghostbusters and Fortnite, they're all in the package, hanging on the wall. I have them in their plastic prisons, as Doug calls them.
Yeah, I mean, if it's a box you can open nicely and put it back in the box, I'm kind of okay with that. But these plastic ones, it's annoying me. Maybe if somebody could leave a comment down below, hair dryer, is there something you could do to get these open without ruining the box? Let me know down in the comments below. Isn't that what YouTubers say?
Look
Down in
at
the
Doug.
comments below.
Doug's showing you how to.
That's how
So
you do it, Glenn.
before we wrap, I gotta know this. Before we wrap, I gotta know this. Do you keep any toys or figures in the box, Doug, at all, or is they all opened up completely?
Everything's open.
Wow.
And you're not looking at it for like down the road that maybe you sell off your collection as because they're worth more boxed than they are outside of their quote unquote
Nope.
prison.
So it would be a completely different story. Like if I had a house full of, 1979, 82 Star Wars action figures still on the card, still in the box, yeah, I wouldn't open those because they're worth a fortune. 90% of what I have has been made in the last, like 5, 6, 10 years or something like that. It's either reissues, recreations, repros, stuff like that. While it does have a smaller secondary market, it's not going to,
But
be a house payment or a retirement income for me 20 years down the line.
I look at some of the WWE action figures from last year
Mhm.
that are worth, some of them are worth $200-$300. And I know, like, just going off of what this expectation is of Edge, his action figure is going to go up. They're worth more in the box. Like, you can get the loose figure and it might worth $65, but you have it in the package, then it's worth like 200 and some. So I guess that's where I'm torn, and I think that's, Glenn, that's where you're kind of torn, even though your son's just going to throw it in the dumpster anyways when you die.
That's it.
It's talking about your body, not the toys.
You might do it to both. You never know. Are you ever contemplate that at all?
No, not at all.
Wow.
I have the mentality and I almost the worry that I'm, a sadist when it comes to the collecting habit. Because if my house burned down, like, I wouldn't freak out. Like, if I lost everything, I'd just be like, all right. Other people, they'd be like, oh my God, I've got all this stuff that is irreplaceable. Everything's replaceable, in my opinion.
Well, that scares me more because my son yesterday was making cookies. He said, Dad, I'm going to make some cookies. Even though we have boxes and boxes and boxes of regular cookies, he wants to make cookies. Turns on the oven, puts in the parchment paper, and I look over, and I'm like, what's so awfully bright? Fire! Fire! We had a fire! And he's like, what? I'm like, it's on fire!
Oh, my word.
Paper. When paper burns, it's going all over the place. I'm like, ah! Yeah, so if I lost all this stuff, I don't know what
At the end of the day, do whatever
just
makes you
explode.
happy. If it makes you happy to keep it in the box, that's fine. My personal opinion is things are meant to be taken out of the box so you can enjoy them fully. However, if it gives you just as much joy and excitement to stick it on a shelf in a box in a bag or whatever, as
Well,
long as you enjoy it,
I have that
that's all
problem. I
that
agree with
matters.
you there, but HR told me I can't take it out. I got to leave it in.
Oh, my. Jeez.
So I'm going to tell him, Doug said it was okay to do that. He said it was there for, to take it out and play with.
See,
I
I kind of use mine just kind of, I know it's dark over there, but I kind of just use them as wall decor. Like, I started putting them all around my arcades instead of just stacking them on the wall. Like, they literally go down the wall. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm running out of room. And then they kind of keep
That's
going.
the problem.
They keep going
That
over.
is the
So
problem.
it's a problem, but it's, ask Daniel, he'll be like, we just got to keep buying more. So I don't know. That's why I'm kind of torn with leave them open or whatever. Anyways, that's a topic for another show. Until we're gonna keep pushing Glenn to open it or take it out of the bag or something.
If you need to contact me to send me bags, you can.
Hey, I've been saving them for you. I know there's a shortage. I've been keeping them because God knows I'm not gonna use them. So, just saying. So guys, we'll be back next week. Isn't next week the community show? Isn't that? Aren't we at the last?
So
Yeah.
I think. Wow, April is toast already.
Yeah, gone.
Next week, community show. If you have any ideas who you would like to talk to on the community show. Last month we had Stevie Richards. Is there somebody that you'd like to have on? Is it Jung from IR Arcade? Maybe I could reach out to Jung. Maybe you guys want to talk to him. Maybe he'd be willing to come on next week. Would that be something of interest to you guys for the community show? The three of us could reach out to Jung and Destiny FOMO. Actually, I'm sure our good buddy over Rexer Show could probably set us up with that. But I don't want her selling her bathwater. I'm not really interested in that. But if you are interested in some good, wholesome arcade content, we could get Jong or I don't know who else. So either way, we'll have the Zoom link.
John is it, man.
Yes.
All about John.
So we can have a link for you guys next week, and just look for that. And really appreciate everybody tuning in. Guys, go watch the Mortal Kombat movie, because I'm going to hopefully
Get over here!
I'm going to hopefully talk my wife into watching it. She'll probably sit there on her phone with
Romantic
one
evening?
earbud. Well, no. When she watches something, she'll be like, okay, I'll watch it. She takes a headphone and puts it in one ear and then watches her phone with some other type of movie and leaves one out so she can hear me and act like she's paying attention, but really she's watching the other movie. So
she's trying at least.
no, I don't know if Rex is setting that up. He has connections, though. All right, guys. We really appreciate it. We'll see you guys next week for more of the Retro Buzz. Till next time, keep it buzzing.